Okay, so this video is coming to you the second half of today because we should have been conferencing. The activity you just did, homage to my hips, was going to be the opening activity, but because of the scheduling, you guys are doing it now to finish up the class. So homage to my hips, if you guys have finished talking about it, should be a really interesting symbolic poem. I'm hoping you guys realize that this is not just about hips. Yes, hips is the focal point. The poem can read very easily or very simply because it's very straightforward about the different purposes of the hips, but I think this author is trying to say something much deeper. It's more symbolic. It kind of goes with that chart that we did with like an author's exigence or purpose, and I think what she's trying to do is to show the female identity and to explain different things related to power. And so when she talks about these hips are big hips, they're free hips, they've never been enslaved, you can definitely feel the African American undertones because she probably came from a family that was once enslaved, or she has a heritage that has to do with slavery. And then she goes into, putting a spell on a man and spin him like a top. That could also be a deeper meaning because she's female and she's maybe seen oppression with male versus female. So the hips become very symbolic, have a much deeper meaning, and if this poem were ever to show up on the AP test, that's what I would say they want you to talk about, its symbolic meaning, and how this repetition, it might be being used to help emphasize the hips as being something very important or very symbolic. Now, what I want you guys to do for the closing activity is to do a creative write. Now, some people say this is AP, we should be doing all analysis, and I disagree with that. I think creative writing is going to help you guys practice the techniques that the authors are using and help them kind of imprint on your brain a little bit more. So what I'd like you to do is write your own homage to blank poem. And this is a creative writing because you will have to do a creative poetry write next week. We finished Foster, but we always have about 2 big projects that go with every unit. And so our next big project is going to be a poem, and you guys are going to write me a poem, and we'll talk more about why we're doing that. But for the most part, I like doing some creative write because I think it gives you a chance to experiment with the same techniques that you're seeing in the different poetry and prose and literature that we're reading. So I'd like you guys to write a homage to my hips poem, but you're going to take out hips and you're going to put something else in it. So homage to my strong grip, homage to my intelligent brain. These are very crappy examples, but I'd like you guys to pick something that you could praise and something else that you could say has a deeper meaning for you. So if you do a sport, maybe do homage to my cleats, or maybe if you do a dance or math and science center. I'm not sure. This is kind of you guys playing around and seeing, is there anything that you could do a homage to, and also is there any way that you could try some of the techniques we've been seeing in different poems. So she used symbolism, she also used repetition, so maybe you guys try that and see what happens. Some of the other poetry we've done, we've seen understatement and overstatement, or we have seen things like imagery, diction choices, syntax. There's a lot of things that you can play with, and I want you to apply that knowledge to your own writing. When you get done with those, you're writing them in your blue book. You're actually going to submit those to me and I'll look at them, but before you bring them back to me, can you guys read and share, just as kind of a fun kind of closing activity. And then remember, your Foster paper is due tomorrow by 5 p.m. Technically the hard copy needs to be turned in when you guys arrive to school, but you need to submit it online by 5 p.m. on the Eli review, which should make sense from today. If you have any questions, let me know.